Yes, welcome back to Destination Hoth, your source for Star Wars info with two old Jedis, as to say. Jedi Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. You're old. I'm not old.
Whatever. And the big mouth on the mic, Daddy Rich, Jedi Daddy Rich, vibing out with you here on a great day here in Canada, and we're just having a great time. And we were, before the show started, we're talking about music, because I started listening to a group, and I heard their song called Diary from a Bart Simpson episode where he found a diary of his old teacher, and it was kind of sweet because at the end, because she passed away in the series. The actress is still alive. We did her voice, but passed away in the series, and it was just kind of sweet. It was like really nice, and it made him positive and making me want to be a better person. It was a really good episode of The Simpsons.
That's cool when you can get that kind of inspiration from The Simpsons. I know, being Scottish descent, groundskeeper Willie inspired me to be like mean and angry.
Well, no, not only that, he was in the episode too where in the diary he said groundskeeper Willie is so lonely, so Bart got him a little bunny rabbit. He's like, I'm not gonna take this bunny rabbit, I want to eat it. And then you see him making a stew, and then all of a sudden, how you doing, little bunny? Yeah, here, eat it, and I'll put you in the nice water. And it was you have to watch it. It's a good episode of The Simpsons. But what got us into that story was that Dave said that he was listening to Donna Summer.
The Donna Summer song. It was Love to Love You, Baby.
And it's like one of the most erotic songs.
It is a really erotic song, yeah. So, I had heard, I think there was an episode of Friends where Rachel was dancing naked in the apartment, and that's the song that she was listening to. So I remember that. And then when Sheryl Crow did Unplugged back in the day, she did the song, Love's a Good Thing, right? Which is a Sheryl Crow song, really groovy song, a very old school funk type of song.
Yeah.
And at one point near the end of the song, she says, oh, I love to love you, baby. So she kind of sampled a little bit in just one line. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, I've never actually listened to the whole song before, but I had heard the story about how ridiculously erotic it is and how Donna Summers goes really out of her way to add the emotion to the song. So I'm listening to I listened to the original 17-minute version of the song yesterday, and just I had this look on my face I think where's the wife? Where's the wife? But yeah, it's a really good
song. When I first heard the song, I was like, why is she moaning for this long time? I was like, oh, I love you. It was that's all you hear for the whole song, and for that 17. And I heard that she really got into it when she was in the
they
studio.
Dim
the lights and everything, and she got that erotic. But she, once again, late rest in peace, I say, Donna Summer out there, amazing singer,
absolutely
and
talented
artist.
And the cool thing about it, a lot of times, when it comes to disco, I think a lot of people forget, there's so much funk influence in disco, and when you're listening to disco, especially this song, the 17-minute version, it kind of deviates away from disco, and then the majority of the song is just hardcore bass, it's and it's just you're just man, this is awesome. I was this is a really good song.
Well, I remember as a kid when they did disco was a big thing, because I was born 77.
Because we're that old.
Old.
Thanks for letting everyone know.
But I mean, I had Disco Disney with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. He's amazing. Disco.
I remember that.
Disco. I think I have to look for the album. I think I still have it somewhere. And then I remember hearing the Star Wars disco.
It was very cool.
So
suddenly we're like Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes outside the Quickie Mart or whatever. Dom dom dom.
See, only here on Destination Hoth we get some interesting conversations that we start off the show. But today's show is going to be fun. We're going to talk about some rumors of who might be Ezra Bridger for the Ahsoka TV show, TV series. We're also going to touch on once again the let go of that actress from Mandalorian, how they were rumored to might replace her with someone else. And we're also going to do the People have been loved that we did the what was it called again, Dave? Your little game there.
Oh, it's called There Is No Try.
Yeah, there is no try, and people have been loving it, and so we're going to do it again for our fans out there. Once again, if you want to get a hold of us, you can always leave a comment down at the bottom of this page on the YouTube page. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram at Destination Hoth, or you can follow us on Twitter, where?
At D Hoth Podcast.
So once again, check us out there. All right, so let's get into what's new in Star Wars. Well, what's new in Star Wars is rumors that the actor from Aladdin, who's a good Canadian kid, might be already handshake deal that he will be playing
Ezra Bridger.
Fantastic, Bridger.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, Mina Masood, I believe his name
Mina
is.
Masood, you're right.
So he was in Aladdin, which I just realized, because I've not seen Aladdin.
You haven't seen it yet?
I'm embarrassed. I've not seen the live action version of Aladdin.
It was really good. It's directed by Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. And I'm saying, like, who ever sits there at Disney and says, we need Guy Ritchie to direct this movie? And then when you think there was an episode of Mandalorian directed by Robert Rodriguez, right? And like they're going into a world that people aren't familiar with. Like, little kids are not seeing Guy Ritchie movies, and little kids are not seeing Robert Rodriguez movies for sure. So
no, but you look at it like when you get a chance to watch it, there are some, not too much, but a little Guy Ritchie in it. Like, because you know Aladdin,
like the camera angles,
and you know the story and how
the way he speeds up shots.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. And once again, he did the Robin Hood movie that I did not. No, it wasn't Robin Hood. It was the King Arthur story movie that I didn't like that much from Guy Ritchie. It was okay.
Oh, that's right. It was okay. It was okay.
It's called Arthur. It was okay.
Right.
It was okay.
That was the one with the dude from Sons of Anarchy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw that one. Yeah, it was okay.
It was okay. It wasn't.
I need to see
great.
the new Robin Hood, which is not a Guy Ritchie movie, like you said, but the new one with Taron Egerton. I want to see that.
And Jimmy Fox. It was okay.
Right.
It was okay too. But once again, he did.
Mina Masood playing Ezra Bridger would be amazing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, once again, I think what Disney and most companies usually do is they go with people who they know and they have a trust with him. He led this movie that was a $1 billion movie, and it was surprised that the movie did that well, and they are doing a sequel to it, of course. But I think Disney, like, once again, this is all rumors. We're not saying that he is signed or handshake on the deal, but it's more or less looking like he might be. Him as Ezra Bridger,
which would be really cool.
How do you feel about that?
A big pop out to Taylor Gray, who played Ezra Bridger on Rebels.
Yeah,
right. But no offense to Taylor, we met Taylor.
Taylor's
right? We
nice,
met him
nice,
at
nice
Fan
man.
Expo
Nice
Canada,
man.
right? And he's like our height. He's a little bit shorter, so to see a grown-up version of Ezra Bridger, I think Mina Masood would be one of those guys that would probably just bring it to a more realistic perspective. Mina is actually kind of cool because not only is he Canadian, he's Egyptian born, but he's a Canadian guy.
Canadian
but also
citizen.
Right. And so, but he's Canadian. He's a Canadian brother. And at the same time, born September 17th, which is my grandmother's birthday, and Austin Matthews. So I have like this thing, man. If Austin Matthews is the best player in the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, my grandmother, if you're like family at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, but honestly, I love it. Like you were asking, your
opinion.
I think it's a great idea. Like, I can't see anybody else that I would put in that role.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple episodes ago where we talked about diversity in Star Wars. This would definitely be a home run. Like to bring someone who's Egyptian descent and to be able to bring them in and just put them into Star Wars and bring that premise to the story. I mean, I always felt Tia Sakar, who played Sabine Wren on Rebels, I think she would still be good to play the character. Like, she might have to shave her head, but she said on Twitter at one point that she would be more than willing to shave her head or cut her hair in order to play this character. So I would love to see her play that character.
I think she'd be good for it too. Yeah, I could see her as this character.
And so putting the two of them into it as Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren would really diversify the perspective of those characters.
Yeah, because we'd never, like, after watching Mandalorian, the Mandalorian, I keep calling Mando. After watching Mando, the Mandalorian show, you didn't know what happened to her, like because they were together when they went off in the last part of the Star Wars saga of Rebels, but we don't know what happened to her after the fact. So it's gonna be interesting. You know that they are going to put her in the show. Right, they definitely got to shove her in there. But I mean, once again, I think it's gonna be. I think he looks like a little bit older Ezra. I think he's a good actor. He hasn't got any much roles after the blockbuster movie. He haven't been doing much that I can see on my radar. But I think it'd be a good.
Not all companies are thinking on a diverse level the way Disney is. And I think that's the big reason. Like, you know what I love about him is his eyes. Like,
yeah,
and I don't mean that like on a romantic level. I mean like when it comes to
baby.
with like Ezra Bridger though. Ezra had like these big eyes and so you can see it. Like it's like when you saw Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka, like even though there was obviously makeup involved, she looked like Ahsoka.
Yeah,
like
but
it wasn't so far off the map. And I think with him, he'd look so much like him.
I think like the character for Ahsoka, everyone's thinking that Rosario. Can't say her name right. Hold on, rewind. Rosario Dawson looked like she looked like Ahsoka. So it was kind of that little. Everyone's like tipping the hat to her. And I think he looks like Ezra. So it's going to be interesting to see if this come through. They're going to be starting. I'm assuming they're going to start filming. If they're trying to release it, if they probably might start filming the Ahsoka series probably either this summer or this fall, if they're going to release it next year or not, or even this year. If they start filming this summer, then they can release it this year, and go from there. But I think it's going to be Boba Fett. It's going to be the first thing out of the box.
The Book of Boba Fett is the next thing.
Yeah, I think.
Well, it's not the next show out. It's the next live action show out.
Yeah, and once again, this is like going back to Disney. They're doing an amazing job with their TV series. With Mandalorian. Now, if you go back when they first started Disney Plus, everyone's like, "Oh, Mandalorian, Star Wars," and that was the only thing they had on there, and no one really actually goes back and actually check out anything else on Disney Plus. I watched all those old Disney TV shows that I grew up with, all the Disney movies like the Apple Dumpling Gang and all that stuff. And but now
Apple Dumpling Gang.
You never saw that?
How old is that though?
Oh, so old.
Okay, I gotta say this before I forget because I know I'm gonna forget. Did you see that there is a new Punky Brewster show coming in?
Yes.
And it's actually Punky Brewster.
Yeah,
and I was like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, Jay has got to know this. Like,
I haven't watched it yet. I saw the trailer for it. It's on Peacock. And but now, not only that, before I get off the topic of Disney, they are also going to be doing, because I guess it's kind of Disney. They're also going to on Hulu, is now owned by Disney. It's going to be having a documentary produced by her and directed by her about kids actors of the 90s.
Oh wow!
And
that's excellent.
I was going to send you the trailer. It's all about kids acting from the 90s. The big deal with all those kids who, from Saved by the Bell to 90210. The list goes on. Even the kid who committed suicide when he was younger from Sequest. And he was in the Neverending Story, et cetera, et cetera. But it's all about her point of view from being these kid actors at that time in the 90s, with them going partying with all these big celebrities who love them. And then it's also talked about when she started to developed her woman parts started coming out, and then men were taking her. It was really dark. It was kind of dark, because when I was I'm about the same age as her. So when I was a kid, I fell in love with Punky, and then I saw her on a couple other things. I'm like, oh, she's an adult. I'm like, wow, she looks beautiful, because I'm the same age.
I think she's older than us a little bit, actually.
Maybe a little bit older. Maybe a little
bit older, yeah.
But they touched on the fact that she was getting, I guess, sexual harassment as she was coming up, and how to deal with being a Hollywood kid star into adult. And and they have some lost tapes that she haven't looked back, diaries, audio of them, and it's supposed to come out March the 12th, and it's on Hulu now. A reason why I brought this up, because now Disney Plus owns Hulu, and now it's on the Star package that you get with your Disney Plus here in Canada and the UK that came out on February 23rd. And there's some great shows on there. They had your favorite show, Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, well, an X-Files.
X-Files on there, yeah.
Huge X-Files fan. I actually own all of the seasons of X-Files.
But now the question is, are you going to watch them now on Disney Plus?
Well, no, I have them all on DVD. So I would have watched them on DVD. I'm one of those guys that prefers to watch things on DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Only because of the special features and the element of, like, I don't know. I like having a library of things. Like, I mean, there's thousands of movies. As you know, like, my shelves are like caked with movies, and you just like to put them on there.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are going to be things that I watch on there for sure. I actually like Handmaid's Tale. I think it's a fantastic series, and that's on Hulu as well.
The trailer just came out for season 4 of Handmaid's Tale, so look out for that.
I will
but another thing is that with things being streamed on Netflix, on Disney, on Paramount Plus, all these new streaming things, they take stuff off too. Like there's a Community episode called Black Elf, and they thought it was kind of, I guess, racist because one of the actors who's Asian descent dressed up as a black elf. And they thought it was kind of racy, so they take it off the Netflix channel, so you can never find that. But for you, a person who loved to have his movies on DVD, you can always find they're all still there. So with X-Files, there could be something racy on X-Files, and they could have took it off, and you won't be able to watch it if you don't have.
I know there were things on Friends, for instance, like on all the seasons of Friends on DVD, and there were a couple episodes where, like, there's an episode where I think like Chandler or not Chandler, sorry, Joey and Ross are like sitting in a restaurant at the end. And so like, Ross says, "Hey man, are you hungry?" And Joey's like, "Does a bear shit in the woods?" So like, and like, I don't know if that ever aired on the actual television network, but
well,
it's on
aired on here now.
But I mean, like, that, I think that's the thing, right? So it's exciting because you can watch the way everything is supposed to be in its entirety. Right now I've been watching Twilight Zone, the old 1960s, late 50s version of Twilight Zone, and every episode is just blowing me away. Like, it's every single episode of that original series could easily have inspired another movie. Like there's an episode, for instance, called like The Girl in the Wall or something like that, and there's like this family, and their little girl is like trapped in the wall in sort of like another dimension, and the whole thing was like Poltergeist. Like, so imagine like this series, like this episode would have aired in like 1960, 61, and yet then like 20 years later they made Poltergeist, and of course like the story was done by Steven Spielberg, and you just cannot tell me he was not inspired by this episode of Twilight Zone. Like, it's such a good show.
Well, now it goes back into what we're talking about Disney and stuff like that, and it's going back into rating system. Like, speaking of Steven Spielberg, Steven Spielberg was the first director, producer who actually fought for the right to start having PG-13 movies. Because most of his movies were like, let me give you an example, Gremlins. Nowadays, I think Gremlins kind of soft, but I mean, as a kid who's under 13, I think it scared me when I was a kid when I watched it.
It was brutal.
It was really
also
scary.
The big revelation of Santa. I think it was when my kids were little, I was like, every time we watched the movie, I would either start talking to them at that part of the movie, or I would actually fast forward to that part. And so like, a couple of years ago, like, the kids are sitting there, like, my daughter's 18 now, my son's 13, so we're sitting there watching this movie. We actually went to the drive-in to watch Gremlins during for the pandemic, right? So we went to the drive-in, we're watching Gremlins, and then there's this moment where like Phoebe Cates talks about why she doesn't believe in Santa, and when she found out that Santa wasn't real was because her father died in the fire, the chimney, right? And so
fireplace.
My son turns to me and he's like, "Is that why you used to cut away from the scene in the movie?" Like, they never understood why I fast forwarded, because I didn't want them to know that Santa wasn't real yet.
That's hilarious. No, but I mean, once again, Santa is real. But I mean, the
100%.
The PG-13 thing came in because of Spielberg, one of the amazing directors out there, Spielberg. And I think PG-13 is a good thing now, because people are wondering about Disney, how they're going to do some of their movies, like especially Blade. And the question is, will Blade be rated R? and I really don't think Blade will need to be rated R.
It doesn't need to be.
No, it doesn't need.
Deadpool does.
Deadpool does, yes,
Yeah.
but Blade, I can't see it being rated R. Once again, we don't know.
But when you look at the rules that exist within Hollywood, as far as what goes into a 14A rating or PG-13 rating, when
it's
you're looking
14
at
here, right? It's 14 in Canada, right?
Right. So like with the vampire storyline and the amount of blood that they might want to show, it might not be about swearing or sex or anything like that. It could be about the violence and the blood. And therefore, maybe Blade would have to be put into another rating.
Yeah, but you don't have to have, like, if you look at Venom, it was, I guess it was PG-13, but it wasn't. There wasn't any blood. You see scenes of him biting someone's head off, but you don't see any blood or anything like that.
For sure, but I feel like with especially when you have a guy like Mahershala Ali being able to be in your film, like you want to go a little bit more dramatic.
Really,
and make sure that you do.
I don't know, man. I'm curious because I know, like, once again, the two great Blade movies was the first Blade, and that I dragged my buddy to go see, Jedi Dave. And
I liked all the Blade movies.
I didn't like the third one. I didn't like the third one. The third one, I thought
don't get me wrong. The second one is the best.
Second was amazing.
The Guillermo del Toro movie is just unbelievable.
The story was really well done in that one too.
So good, and like so many people in that movie too, like Donnie Yen playing Snowman, and Ron Perlman, and
spoilers: Whistler dies in that one.
Norman Reedus, right? Like Norman Reedus is in the movie. Like I mean, it's really good. Okay, so another rumor about Star Wars. Another rumor
go
that
ahead.
you were talking about. Go ahead.
So the other rumor is that the Cara Dune character they were talking about. This is just all rumors. It's past maybe 3 days or a week, 3 weeks back, or whether the situation is. But they were talking about maybe recasting her, and I'm curious to see what you feel about that. Like I was saying. Well, let's not talk about me. Let's start with you. How do you feel if they do recast her?
Well, the last episode I talked about my opinion. I really felt that they should recast her. As much as I loved the thing about Gina Carano that I think stood out, let's just put all of her comments aside and look at her as an actress, right?
Yeah.
The fact that she looked like different than the average person would look. You know what I mean? She wasn't skinny as a rail. She actually was a fighter. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to teach an actor how to fight, but it's another cool thing when you have an actual actor or an actual person who knows how to fight playing a character. So there's so much about her that I think was important, but not as important as the character itself. So with the character of Cara Dune, there are a lot of women out there who I think can find inspiration. Remember we talked about in our episode where we talked about, say, the Cosby Show, and how I remember seeing women who had been inspired to become a lawyer because they saw Claire Huxtable as a lawyer, right? Or they had watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and you had women like African-American women who were growing up and wanting to become a university professor, and because they saw that. Once you see that, it inspires you. And Cara Dune it's such a diverse character in the sense that, yeah, she's a woman, but she is law enforcement. She's military. You know what I mean? Like, and it opens doors and really inspires women to say, you know what? It doesn't matter. I can still have a femininity about me. I can still be the woman I want to be, but at the same time, I can be a badass and kick the crap out of people and pull people from a burning building and throw men on my back and throw them into, you know what I mean? Like, and you always saw her, like, she wasn't fighting against female villains. Like, she was fighting against men. And that's, to me, it's far more inspiring. It's like when I saw Wonder Woman, the whole time I'm like, please don't make the villain a woman, because I wanted to see her in the strength that she is, which is like, like, don't weaken her and make sure that you show her as being equal to Superman. And so, like, it was cool when Ares was the villain, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same premise with her. Cara Dune as a character is too important to just push aside because of the stupid comments made by the actress who played her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, go ahead.
So I would like to, as long as it's the right person. So I remember, like, for instance, we ran a poll and we were talking about Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But now that I think about the body type that Gina Carano presented to the character, I think that, like, maybe they should go with an unknown person, somebody who fits the role a little bit more, or they can, maybe go right back to the pool and find another fighter who can take that part.
I now once again, I'm a big fan of hers. She's on my list. I sound like your wife. She's on my list, and I just can't see her. I can't see this character with anyone else but her. You are right. Her body type was originally, she was actually rumors were back in the days that they wanted her for Wonder Woman 2 because she was such in that body of like she was just a muscular, more toned up than the Wonder Woman we have right now. And
the way a fighter would
look, yeah, like she's, and then I found that attractive. But I mean, like at the end of the day, like I think they should like just put her aside for now, and then bring her back. Like I think Disney might bring her back. Like Disney. Once again, we had this conversation last episode where we talked about how Disney brought back James Gunn from his tweets way like 10 years back, and they let him go without even giving him a chance, and they brought him back in to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And so I'm thinking I think it's going to happen. I think it's that give it some time, let the dust settle on everything. And I think they might bring her back, but I don't think they should recast her because I think recasting you're taking a lot from that character that everyone fall in love with. You could get who's that female fighter there? She was supposed to do the Roadhouse remake. Oh
my gosh, I know you.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my goodness, why am I not remembering?
I'm trying to remember, and it's
oh my goodness, it's Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. You could cast Ronda Rousey in it if you want to have a fighter in it,
but then you lose the Latina element to the character as well.
Yeah, well,
and I think that's important as well. You know what? I agree with you. I think from a companies are a little bit more rational than the public.
Yeah.
Right? So a company, I believe that you're right. Like I could see the company being forgiving going forward in the future. I don't believe the public would be forgiving. and that's the problem. I think that the average person, I mean, they will still like, my belief is that the average person in the public wants to sound smart.
Yeah.
When I grew up, there were people who were okay and content with being unintelligent people. And, people would have a conversation where they were very educated about the topic, and those people would just sort of nod their heads and kind of go, yeah. And they didn't really, So, and then they wouldn't really participate in the conversation because they really weren't educated. They didn't understand the topic.
Yeah.
But now, because of social media, everybody can jump on social media and have an opinion about something. And even if their opinion has no basis and no proof and no evidence or whatever, they can still find another 1,000 people somewhere in the world who believe just what they believe, right? That Smurfs live in their wall or whatever.
And then all of a flat.
Right? And so all of a sudden they feel validated. Their opinion feels validated. Now, see, I'm not the only person that believes that Smurfs live in my wall.
And I'm not the only person that believes the person that the world is flat.
Right, exactly. The world is flat, or that, that half the people in Hollywood have some sort of evil cabal, and it's funny. Like I had a guy at work, I was having a conversation with this, and I said, like, the idea that someone like Tom Hanks, for instance, that people believe that they're harming children, and he said, well, do you know Tom Hanks? And I'm like, well, I don't know you. Maybe I can go on social media and just start talking about how you do these things. And that's the thing. Like, you can't just say, oh, well, I don't know that person, so it must be true. That's insane, right? And I think so, based on the concept of the public and the public opinion, that's why I can't see them ever bringing her back. They may be very forgiving, and I also question whether or not she would want to come back.
Yeah,
like you said last week when we did the last episode of the podcast, like she seemed to have very many opportunities to be able to prove that she was towing the company line, if that's the word that I can use, right?
Yeah.
But she proved that she wants to have her own opinion and go out of even though it's unpopular, or even though it's unfounded, or it's unproven, there's no evidence of her opinion, whatever, she wants to believe those things, and she's okay with losing the job in order to have that opinion. So I can't see Disney wanting to reach out that olive branch, but at the same time, I can't see her wanting to accept it. You know what I mean?
Well, not now, I don't think. Like, once again, it's up in the air for what they're going to do with this character. I don't think they should replace her with someone else. I think they should just give her some time, let the whole thing settle, and then maybe go back and see what they can do to bring this character back. Because this character was supposed to get their own her own spin-off show too. Like it was all up in the air for this. Now, and another thing with Disney is that I like what Disney doing right now is casting all different types of women. There's not only casting the long, sexy, woman. Now they're casting everyone, and that's what I like about Disney. How it's now changing the way they look at their actors in their series. Like like Mr. Kim himself, he got hired as a pilot. You know what I'm saying? Like it's their casting is they're doing a well job.
That guy is a badass though. Like if you ever watch Kim's Convenience, like there was an episode where he's talking to Gerald.
Yeah.
About oh my gosh, Hapkido. So it's like there's a martial art from Korea called Hapkido, and he's like the master in Hapkido. And so like you see him, he's like us, right? Yeah. He's in his 40s, like put on a little pounds, he's got a few pounds, whatever. So people are like, okay, whatever. He's an old man, he's not going to do anything. And then he like destroys guys. Like, and then he goes into the martial arts class and he shows everybody that he's a master in Hapkido. Like this guy's a badass. So I mean, like I'm sure if I'd watch that episode, I'm like, man, we got to put him in Star Wars. This is a pilot. This is a guy, right? Yeah. So like, at no point did I look at that character or anything for 1 second just because of how he looks. That he can't destroy people on the battlefield. Yeah, and I think, and like what, another thing you made a good point on. The fact that it's 2021 and what is sexy is so diverse in itself. Yeah. Right. Like back in like the 80s when we were kids, you had to be skinny as a rail. Yeah. Right. And nobody, blonde hair, blue eyes. And like, that's what everybody wanted. Like it's the Farrah Fawcett poster,
and for the guys that you have to have hair on your chest, like Tom Selleck, mustache,
the curly hair.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck.
Selleck,
Burt Reynolds, like everybody, like that. All of a sudden, like that was like the in look. Like even like Billy D. Williams, right? Curly hair, mustache. Like everybody was like, this is the look. And now it's in 2021, man. It is crazy how diverse sexy has become. Like no one can look at it and say this is what's sexy because everything is sexy now, right? Yeah. Like you can put somebody in a movie where you're just like, they could be missing limbs, they could be doing anything, and people are like, man, that is sexy, right? And like, oh my gosh, like the idea of Jason Momoa, one of the things about this guy as an actor, which is so funny, is that he's been every version of sexy. Right? Like remember when he was on like Baywatch, like that waxed down, right? That perfect haircut and that kind of guy. Yeah. And now he's like big burly, big beard, long hair. Yeah. And women are like, whatever. This is why Jason Momoa has become so big, because women love him all the time. No matter what he does, no matter what he wears, Jason Momoa is like beautiful to women. And so and I think that's the thing. Like it was funny. Actually, it was kind of getting in May 4th, right? The Bad Batch was announced.
Yeah, so the Bad Batch is coming out right before Loki.
Right, perfect. So not to be confused though with the 2016 movie Bad Batch starring Keanu Reeves and Jason Momoa.
I gotta look for that movie.
It is.
He was talking about off air. I was
talking about it because I watched it last night. Like I had never actually seen the movie, and so I remember looking up the Bad Batch and kind of finding out rumors and stuff like that. But then this movie popped up instead. And I was like, what is this? And so my wife loves Jason Momoa and she loves Keanu Reeves. Yeah. So she's like, you just had me at those two names. So we watched this movie though. And as a guy, I got to tell you, it was so funny because you're watching Jason Momoa and you're watching Keanu Reeves, these two men that women love. Yeah. And they're the sleaziest, greasiest, most disgusting people on the planet in this movie. And I think that's what makes it so much more appealing as a guy. You're like, oh yeah, I like this movie. It's like, it's so good when you can watch like, the men that women love and just make them look bad. Like it'd be cool to see like Dwayne Johnson playing like a dorky computer nerd or something, you know?
Yeah.
Just kind of make me feel better about myself.
Well, another thing, so Bad Batch is going to be starting in May 4th, right after
Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day.
May
so
4th.
we're going to have, I guess we're going to have a little break in the Disney Plus, because you have WandaVision wrapping up. That was an amazing episode. You have WandaVision wrapping up next week. Then we're going to have a little break. What are they bringing in after?
And then Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but after Falcon Winter Soldier is going to be April. Oh, that's when they're bringing the cartoon version, the What Ifs.
Oh, okay,
What Ifs.
cool.
I think. I'm not sure. It could be after Loki. I'm not sure. And then you have Loki. So they have a lot of stuff going on. And with
Bad Batch is going to be amazing. Like, it's because it's post Order 66 stuff.
Yeah.
And so it'll be neat to see where things went and how things were done. And who knows? Maybe it was the Bad Batch that rescued Grogu from the Jedi Temple.
Well, now we throw into we're still in what's new, and now recently, what's new in Star Wars is that Tom Holland had interviews talking about the new Spider-Man movie, talking about what's coming up for him, and he brought this up in the interview that he actually auditioned for the role of Finn.
Really?
Yes, he auditioned for the role of Finn. He was he had 5 callbacks, and he was up to the last callback, and he went into the casting room, and he was supposed to talk to a droid, and didn't have a droid there. And,
droid, please.
Yeah, so they didn't have a droid there. And so they ended up getting one of the casting director's assistants to read the line of the droid, and she was going beep boop 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 boop, and it just took him out of that character, so he couldn't really lock on to that character. So he said he had a really bad time trying to the audition with the woman going boop 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 boop. Now,
so they were determined to cast a British actor, but doing an American accent.
But I mean, like, it's now the question is, now you're an actor, shouldn't you able to just take that part and actually make it your own, or was it too you just couldn't understand it? Or should they brought an actual, because it's Disney, they have droids that they made, they could have brought a droid in and he could be talking to it as the guy behind her going boop 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 boop. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think as an actor you should be able to go through this with someone making some strange noise for your audition?
For sure, but different actors, different people, right? Like, I mean, I don't think he's crying about it at any point now. I mean, he's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
So, and John Boyega is Finn, and that's, I mean, like, they're not always going to be known just as those people. I mean, they're going to do other things. Mm-hmm. For me, like, Tom Holland's first appearance for me was in the movie The Impossible. And
The Impossible? I'm trying to remember that movie.
The one with Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts, and it's based on the true story.
Oh, or
of
the
tsunami. Right?
Yeah. He was in that. I don't remember.
Yeah, so that guy was making me cry like way before Spider-Man. So, I mean, he's a great actor, and maybe it was just that particular audition kind of threw him off. Maybe he was tired. I don't know. Right? Didn't have enough tea that morning. I don't know. It could be anything.
Well, now he is done Spider-Man. Like, they're wrapping up now Spider-Man, and this was his last contract for Sony / Disney.
No Way Home. That's the title.
Yeah, No Way Home, that he didn't spoil. And because he's one of those big mouths, and so he did it in the interview too. They asked him, so you're wrapping up Spider-Man, this is your last Spider-Man, would you what would you go back? And he's like, yeah, I'm open to go back to be Spider-Man. If Disney's like, yo, we want you back for Spider-Man, or Sony's like, yo, we want you back I'm willing to sign up for Spider-Man. I'm there. Yeah, the door is open. So the question is, do you think he's done with Spider-Man now, or not?
I don't know. It really depends on their plans for where they want to go in the future, right? So I don't know if they're getting away from the Avengers now, and they may be more interested in the X-Men going forward, especially after the episode of WandaVision that we saw today. So. But yeah, so like, I can see the X-Men being a forefront.
I think it's very smart of what he did by saying that he's open for this come back. Now he left the ball in their court. So if they don't bring him back, all the fans will be like, "What's going on? He said he's gonna come. He's good to come back. Just give him the money, you know." So he left it in Disney hands right now. Like, because you look at it, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't going to come back and do a third Iron Man, and he ended up coming
And
back.
maybe shouldn't have. I did not like.
I liked Iron Man 3. It was good.
It's the only Marvel movie that I actually didn't like.
Now, with Dave's point, he didn't like it. I think it's because of the Mandarin. You were just upset about the Mandarin.
I was disappointed that they didn't cast an Asian actor to play the Mandarin.
Well, now they did for the Shang-Chi movie. So Mandarin will be Asian. But I mean,
another Canadian actor.
Yeah.
Simu Liu in that movie.
Now,
Awesome.
also look at that Thor's coming back. He's signed back up again for with Disney again. So it's not like they can't sign him back again. Like, he's a good Spider-Man.
Do you find it weird that Chris Hemsworth is getting more muscular to play Hulk Hogan than he ever did to play Thor?
I forgot he's doing Hulk Hogan too, isn't he?
The videos and stuff that he's posting on Instagram, dude looks like, once again, he's one of those guys that makes other men feel bad about themselves.
But he's filming.
Right?
He's filming right now. Not Guardians of the Galaxy. He's filming Thor right now. So, he probably already finished filming the Hulk Hogan movie.
He is huge.
He is. He's a big guy.
Huge.
All right, so that was what's new in Star Wars. Once again, if you have any new information that we need to hear about, feel free to send it to our Gmail account. Our Gmail account is destinationhoth@gmail.com, or you can send it to our Twitter account. And what's that again?
D Hoth Podcast.
And you can also leave it in the comments below. If you have any comments, just leave it below right there. Tell us what you think about some of the topics we brought up. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, because you help us out when you subscribe to the channel, all right? And keep us going, keep us doing this, all right? So let's get into what you want to get into now.
You know what? Today was really just like an all-around geek conversation. Like we talk nerd stuff, not just Star Wars stuff. I think it might actually be kind of cool. We can get a little bit more in depth on Bad Batch. Like, where do you think this show is going to go?
All right, with Bad Batch, it's gonna go. I think you're right with the whole storyline where it's gonna take place in between the Order 66. So we see what happens to all the clones. Like, we know 3 of the clones did survive in Rebels. Spoiler if anyone haven't seen spoilers.
Well, if you haven't watched Rebels, how can you even consider yourself a Star Wars fan? You know, doesn't it blow your mind that there are people out there who say, "Oh, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan," or "the biggest Star Wars fan," and then they have never watched Clone Wars and they've never watched Rebels, which I feel is some of the most important Star Wars material that you'll ever get. Like, it is huge for explaining a lot of different things, and really fills a lot of the gaps that may exist through the movies, which is why I'm really hoping that at some point we're going to get an animated series that's set before, after, or during the sequel trilogy, because there was a lot of confusion, like a lot of issues that might be cool to fill in as well. Yeah.
No, once again, I think the Bad Batch, you're right about that. It's going to take place in between that time. It's going to take a nice look at how everything going. Are we going to see Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader in it? That's the question. That's the question I'm wondering. If it's going to take place in that time.
There has to be some Vader stuff in there for sure.
Yeah, because
bring James Earl Jones back for the voice.
Because the last time we saw Vader was at the end of end of Clone Wars, where we see him find Ahsoka's lightsaber, and assuming that she was dead. And but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they do it. These characters are awesome. Each person have their own special technique.
Do you think because they were a bad batch, quote unquote, they don't have the chips in their head?
I'm assuming they don't. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming they don't have it because they're a bad batch. Like, they weren't right. They were like the last batch, I guess, almost.
For sure. Well, for those who don't know, there were in Clone Wars, they established that the clones had these microchips that were implanted into their head in order to make sure that they fell in line and did what the Emperor ordered, which was Order 66 to kill the Jedi. So some of the troopers, Captain Rex, I think in the last episodes of Clone Wars, Captain Rex turns on Ahsoka, and then
she ended up
he kind of fights it off a little bit, and then they're able to remove the chip from his head.
And then a couple of other did too, I think.
Yeah.
in a couple episodes.
Well, the ones that were with Captain Rex and Rebels, I think, when he was retired.
Yeah, they took the chips out too. So
I'm thinking Bad Batch may be a chipless group.
Yeah.
Like it might be kind of interesting to see that. And then
because they're gonna be as a soldier, you'd be thinking, why are they attacking Jedis or why are they doing this? It's gonna be interesting to see how they deal with the Jedis now becoming the wanted. Maybe are they gonna be tasked to hunt down some Jedis?
right.
That is going to be interesting
Or
question.
that, yeah, I never thought about that. Could be another option where they aren't chipless. They do have the chips, and now they're gonna try to go out there.
Yeah,
and hunt
well,
down
yeah,
Jedi.
maybe they're fighting the chip and trying to figure it out. And I think it's going to be a great. I think it's is it 9 episodes? I think it's 9 episodes too.
9 episodes.
Yeah,
remember when shows were like 23 episodes long over a season?
What are you talking about? That I never heard about that. I'm just a young man here.
Well, you were talking before we started airing the podcast. You were talking about how, WandaVision, for instance, and Mandalorian, the shows where they're like 35 or 40 minutes long. And the reality is that's what most even hour-long shows were. There was like 20 minutes of commercials, but these shows don't have commercials, so they still film in that same length. But they had 23 episodes. I remember like Smallville, ran for 10 seasons at 23 episodes a year and hour-long episodes. And a lot of content there for sure that maybe they're kind of missing out on, but it keeps us wanting more.
Speaking of Smallville, what do you think have you watched the new Superman show?
Not yet. Don't tell me anything.
So at the end, all right, then this blur came in, changed Superman into a yellow costume and Christopher Reed, and it was so awesome. I'm joking. I thought it was okay, but the positive I'm not ruining anything, but the positive I can say from the show, it kind of reminded me of Man of Steel that I love, and I think it was one of the greatest Superman movie ever. It kind of has that feel for it, but then it goes back to the CW kind of way in between it, and then it makes Superman look kind of weak. But that's just me. I love a strong Superman, but I mean.
I feel Man of Steel is probably the best Superman movie I've ever seen.
It still is. How many people hate it? I think it was the greatest.
Those people, I don't know what their problem is. They like, here's the thing, like we grew up with Christopher Reeve. Like that's our Superman.
Yeah.
But the reality is that he's gone. Like I mean, and at no point did I feel that he was a great Superman. I felt he was a great Clark Kent.
Oh, he was amazing,
right?
Clark Kent. Yeah.
And whereas with Henry Cavill, he's the best Superman I've ever seen,
and a good Clark too. Like that part where I remember in Man of Steel where his mom was getting thrown around by General Zod, and then he comes flying in. And if you touch my mom, I was like, that is Clark. That was Clark. He loves his mom and his father, and it shows that he's not Kal-El. He is actually Clark Kent. Like at the end of the day, your parents are the ones that change you. The parents are the ones that make you who you are, who you become, because you're like a copy of them, more or less, of all their values, all their goals and everything.
Hopefully. Unless you have terrible parents, and then we hope you kind of find your own path.
Well, yeah, your own path too. But I mean, it's like in This Is Us, where I don't know if you watched This Is Us yet, have you?
Of course I watched This Is Us.
It's like in This Is Us where Randall was talking about how he was adopted and he never had that leaf of his family. And, he had a great family.
He knew who raised him, but he didn't know where he came from.
That was his he wanted that. So in that one part where he was talking to his wife, wanted to have their baby, he was talking about how he wants to have that leaf, and it's kind of cool to see that part of the story.
Branches on his family
tree, yeah. So you can actually have that.
Such a good show.
It's such a good show. But once again, I think that The Bad Batch is going to be a great show. I can't wait. Disney Plus is doing amazing stuff right now. Right. I can't wait for Why the Last Man.
That's going to be amazing.
I can't wait for that.
Okay, I got this. I wanted to bring this up with you.
Okay, go ahead.
So a friend of mine at work, Aaron, another big prop out to Aaron. Him and I were discussing the sequel trilogy, and of course, you and I have our problems with it, of course, but we still love it. And he actually put things in perspective, and I suddenly realized what it is that we have a problem with. Each one of the sequel trilogies, so Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, each movie is a fantastic movie on its own. The problem is they don't work together as a trilogy.
Sorry?
And so they don't work together as
a trilogy. Yeah.
So that's what it is. I feel like they don't connect well to each other. Each movie as its own is fantastic. Like if Rian Johnson, for instance, had his own trilogy and had done the whole thing from the start, we probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. If J.J. Abrams had done the entire trilogy right from the start, and we probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. And what is that there seems to be different visions and different ideas, and it lacks that continuity as a trilogy. But each movie individually is fantastic. And I never thought about it until he said it, and I thought, that's probably what it is.
I think there was no story for the new series of Star Wars movies that they started. I think there was a story when they first started with Force Awakens,
right?
But then when it got to The Last Jedi, it went on a different path.
Exactly.
Once again, it was not a bad movie.
If they had sat there in the beginning and said, okay, so this is the plot that we're going to do over 3 movies.
Yeah.
And they had that all formulated and put together, it would have worked. But they had 3 different visions.
Like the Avengers series. I was just throwing it out there, like the Avengers series. But I mean, like, you go back to that and you look at it and you're like, once again, you're right. The movies are entertaining. They're like, once again, Force Awakens is one of my favorite of the series.
Highest grossing of all the Star Wars movies.
I just feels like it's just that they didn't really have the time to do it. That's why I think with the new movies I think it's going to be a little bit more put together properly, I think, and it's going to be interesting to see if they do a Old Republic or not for the series. And I think they should do that. I think they should really go all the way back and do an Old Republic. I think everyone's wanted to see that. It's safe. Yeah. You still have Jedis, you still have Sith, you
already have a following.
Yeah, like you
already have people who want to watch it.
Yeah, it's and then you have new characters. Yep. You have new characters that you've never seen before, so they can
Unless
start
you play
new.
Video games.
They could, I guess they could do that. All right, let's get in. Let's get into it. We got to wrap it up pretty soon. Let's get into it. Let's
play another version. We're gonna do another segment of There Is No Try.
All right. Yeah, I'm not ready, but I'll say yes.
We're gonna do this. So before we get into this, just anyone who's listening out there, we are looking for a lady podcaster who does Star Wars, who loves Star Wars, who would be interested in becoming a guest and sitting with us on one episode where we can talk about women in Star Wars and even get into the sexism from some of the toxic fans out there. We really want to do this episode. It's been probably one of the things that we plan to do since we planned to do the show.
Yeah.
But we don't feel confident that 2 guys and only 2 guys having a discussion about women in Star Wars is, I don't know, sufficient, I think is the word. So we want a lady podcaster to join. So if someone out there is willing, please send us a message on Twitter. You can Hoth podcast, right? Or even drop a message on the bottom on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you can find us.
Or our Gmail at destinationhoth@gmail.com. You can send an email in there to us, and once again, leave a comment at the bottom. And let us know if you're interested to sit down with two guys.
Right, perfect.
Yeah.
Just don't be mean to us. That'll be right.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so there is no try. There is no try. All right, are you ready?
Yes. Yes, very ready.
All right, so basically, for those who are joining the podcast for the first time, There Is No Try is based on hot takes. So we present hot takes, and then we either like that hot take or we do not like that hot take. Right?
So you come up with some interesting stuff. You do. You do come up with some interesting stuff with this.
All right.
Let's do it. Let me see if I can do this.
All right. So There Is No Try. The first one we've got. So the only reason Ben Solo is saved from the dark side is actually because Rey cleanses him of it after she heals him from his wounds.
Ooh.
Do you like that or do you not like that take?
I'll say yes, but no, because I was hoping that he would die because he killed off Han Solo. So I will say yes, for the idea of it, but as a Han Solo fan, and how could you do that to your dad? No. So yes, I'll say yes.
I say yes as well. I think if at that point when you follow the entire storyline of Ben Solo and Kylo Ren, he is so evil and he wants to be evil, right? It's not like Anakin where he like gave into the dark side in order to save the people
he wants
loves.
to be a little spoiler brat.
This guy wants to be
Chewie wanted to take him out. It's like Chewie wanted to take him down.
It's all about power. It's all about aggression. It's all about hostility. It's all about anger and violence. And like he is just given in to the dark side. So in that moment that she cleanses him of his wound, you'll notice his scar goes away. The whole demeanor of the character seems to change. I think that's it. Like I think she cleanses him of the dark side when she heals him of his wounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next.
And it's for those who are thinking, okay, that's silly because that just means people can just heal the force or heal the dark side of the force with, using force healing. Maybe it's something exclusive to Rey. That's something she's only capable of doing. And maybe she'll be able to teach it to new people going forward, but she might be the first one. The way Qui-Gon was the first Jedi to learn how to, commune through the force and actually survive.
Well, I don't think she's the first.
Grogu.
If you remember, Grogu
right.
can heal too, actually. I think it's like each Jedi have a different how do you say force power. Something unique about them that not all of them have the same. After reading the High Republic, you find out each Jedi does have different different Jedi powers, you want to call it. All right, next.
All right, second take. The novel for The Rise of Skywalker. Right? This actually kind of goes back to what you were just talking about. So this was good. In the novel version for The Rise of Skywalker, which is based on the original script, Rey's father is described as being a failed Palpatine clone.
Ooh.
So if the bodies that were cloned from Palpatine's return, or for Palpatine's return, were using Grogu's blood, this is the reason Rey is able to heal people through the Force.
No, I say no. I say no.
So that is not how she's able to develop the ability to heal.
No.
She did not inherit it through Grogu.
No.
Okay.
I say no. What do you think?
I'll agree with you as well.
Really?
I agree with you.
Right.
I think that's just too easy.
Yeah.
It's too really easy. But I mean, they are the only two characters that we've seen being able to do it so far in the films.
Yeah.
And in the live action and whatnot. So, but I mean, I think it would just be too simple.
Yeah. All right. Next.
Yoda and Yaddle are Grogu's parents.
I will say, part of me want to say yes, but part of me knows that Jedi culture, they don't have that relationship. No, I'm going to say yes. Yes, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say they got it on a mission off world somewhere. Love you, baby. And that song was playing in the background. So I say yes.
Maybe a little Barry White.
A little bit of Barry White. You out of everything. All right, yeah, I think I say yes.
All right, I agree. Actually, I do.
I wish you would say no.
I think the next one we might disagree. So, but with this one, I feel like because the species is so rare, that maybe these ones are expected to continue to procreate and keep their species going.
I guess that could be part of it too. But with the Jedi culture, there's no emotion. So I mean, I guess there's no emotion when I don't know. So it's a weird little look at it. It's a weird little look.
All right.
Last one.
The upcoming Disney Plus series, The Acolyte, will explore the history and secrets of the Sith, including the backstory of Darth Bane.
Ooh.
Remember, it's set during the High Republic era.
Ooh. I would say I'm going to say no, because so far they've been trying to stay away from it. How much I want it, but I think I'm going to say no. I think they're going to stay away from it because they want to try to do their own things.
Excellent. I think they will. So I knew we would disagree here. And I don't think that Darth Bane's going to be in the show. Like, it's not going to be his storyline. It's going to be a different storyline altogether.
Yeah.
But I can see them talking about the history, right? Or even through a discussion, or maybe like a flashback segment or something like that, where they kind of touch on the secrets of the Sith, because we really only know snippets of Sith history from the movies and from the Clone Wars and from Rebels. So the Acolyte, focusing clearly by the title, I would assume, is focusing on a Sith character or a dark side user character.
Yeah.
That this gives them way too much opportunity that they would not want to just squander, you know?
Well, like, once again, you're right. We know more about Jedis than we know about the Sith culture.
For sure.
It would be interesting to see that side of it, and I think once again, I don't think they're going to use the character. How much people want to see the character, but
I mean, at this point, the only person who's ever played Darth Bane is Mark Hamill. And that was
true.
in that lost episodes of I guess the 6th season of Clone Wars, right? And so it would be interesting to see maybe a flashback, or even if someone's just telling the story, the way that the Palpatine told the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, right? Yeah. That maybe they just someone's just telling the story of Darth Bane and what he did and how he created the new rule of two and whatnot, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. All right, it is time for us to say goodbye. We have to hit that warp drive to get us off to the Kessel Run.
There we go.
That's no.
The Kessel Run.
We have to get to the Kessel Run because we have to outfly Han Solo. But once again, if you like the show, please hit the like button at the bottom. Leave a comment, please. Once again, you can always hit it off. You can always hit us off on different platforms. You can always check out our Instagram page at Destination Hoth, or you can send us an Gmail with any ideas or topics for us to talk about in the show at Gmail, destinationhoth@gmail.com. You can also follow us on our Twitter page, and that Twitter page is
D Hoth Podcast.
D Hoth Podcast. So you can find us there. And once again, if you are a lady who is interested in joining the crew for a chat about a female point of view, feel free to drop us a line at the bottom of the page. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the page, and don't forget, we'll be back again to talk some more Star Wars. So hold tight. We surprised me didn't talk about WandaVision. That's the only thing we didn't.
Maybe we should have. Maybe our next episode should all be about WandaVision, because it'll be like after the whole
show. Yeah. Yeah, we should do that. We can do that.
We should do that.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with us. Have a great day, week, year, whenever you're listening into the future. To our alien overlords, thank you for letting us do this, and thank you for sitting down.
I'm so unaware of who those people are.
You know who they are.
No.
Once again. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your whatever. Bye.
May the force be with you, and be good to each other.
Yes, bye.
This is the Nick Winters Show, and I do the entertaining. Thank you. Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. Star Wars, nothing but Star